Welcome back, everyone. Today we're taking a deep dive into the life of King Solomon. He's really famous for his wisdom, but as we'll see, his story takes a turn that you might not expect.
Yeah, it's one of those stories that really sticks with you, even after you've heard it a bunch of times. I mean, you have this king who's blessed with this incredible wisdom. He accomplishes all these amazing things, but then it kind of goes sideways.
I guess that's what we're going to unpack today. Like, how could someone so wise, make decisions that don't seem so smart?
Exactly. It's that tension that makes his story so interesting, I think. Solomon's journey, it starts out with so much promise. He's super devoted to God. He's known for his wisdom. He even builds that magnificent temple in Jerusalem.
Yeah, the first temple. And, I mean, everyone knows the story of him, being asked to choose between wealth, long life, and wisdom. And he chooses wisdom,
Yeah.
and then he becomes like this legendary figure. I mean, people came from all over the place just to hear him, right?
Oh, absolutely. He was like the wisest guy around. But then things change.
What?
Well, he starts making these alliances with other nations, which kings did back then through marriage. Pretty standard stuff. And he doesn't just stop at a few, strategic marriages. He ends up with hundreds of wives.
Hundreds. Whoa, that's a lot of birthdays to remember.
Right. The scriptures say he had 700 wives who were princesses, and then on top of that, 300 concubines. But it's not even just the number, it's who these women were. A lot of them worshiped different gods.
Uh-oh. That sounds like a recipe for trouble. You'd think someone as wise as Solomon would see the potential issues there.
And that's the crazy part. Even the smartest people can get caught up in stuff. It's a very human thing.
So did he ever realize how dangerous it was?
Well, he tried to keep everyone happy. He actually built temples and shrines for their gods, which, if you know the story, was like a huge no-no. God had some pretty clear rules about that.
It's almost like he forgot where his own wisdom came from. Talk about irony.
It's one of those things that makes you think. Like even small compromises, even for something like love or politics, can really take you down the wrong path.
So what happened? Did God step in?
He did. God appeared to Solomon, and, well, he wasn't happy. He basically told him that the kingdom would be torn away from his family.
Wow. That's a pretty big consequence.
Yeah, but there was also some mercy there. Because of David, Solomon's father, God decided to wait. It wouldn't happen while Solomon was alive, but the kingdom would be divided after his death.
So Solomon got to keep ruling, but with this knowledge hanging over him.
Exactly. And to make matters worse, God started stirring up trouble for Solomon. Guys like Hadad and Rezon started rebelling, causing chaos all over the kingdom. It was like a preview of what was to come.
So Solomon is dealing with the fallout from his choices and knowing the kingdom is going to be split up. What happens next?
Well, things get even more interesting. The story introduces us to this guy named Jeroboam. He's from the tribe of Ephraim, and he's described as a pretty capable dude. Solomon notices him, puts him in charge of some big construction projects.
Ephraim. Now that was one of the main tribes up north, right?
Yeah, you got it. And that's actually important because it kind of hints at how the kingdom will eventually split. So Jeroboam is out there working, and he runs into this prophet, Ahijah.
A prophet. Okay, I'm listening.
This Ahijah, he does something pretty wild. He takes his own clothes, tears them into 12 pieces, and gives 10 of them to Jeroboam. It's a symbolic gesture, foreshadowing the division of Israel.
Wow, that's a pretty dramatic way to make a point. So is this Jeroboam being set up as like a rival king or something?
That's exactly it. Ahijah tells him straight up, this is a message from God. The kingdom will be taken from Solomon's family, and 10 tribes will go to Jeroboam.
It's a huge shakeup, right? So what was the reason? Why choose a new leader?
The prophecy is really clear about that. It's all because of what Solomon did, his turning away from God and leading the people into idolatry. God is giving them a chance to start over, to be faithful again.
It's a second chance, almost, for the people who want to follow God.
Mhm.
So how does Solomon react to all this?
Well, Solomon was not one to just sit back, He saw Jeroboam as a threat, and he tried to have him killed.
Not exactly a wise move, considering what the prophet just said.
Yeah, it seems like his judgment wasn't so great anymore. But luckily for Jeroboam, he got wind of it and escaped to Egypt.
Egypt again, huh? Seems like that was the place to go when you were in trouble back then.
It was pretty common. So Jeroboam is safe for now, but the stage is set. The kingdom is on the verge of breaking apart, and there's this new guy waiting to take over. It's important to remember, though, even with Solomon messing up, God didn't forget his promises. Even when we make mistakes, even when we walk away from God, he's still there. He's still faithful.
It's a roller coaster of a story, isn't it? Solomon's rise, his wisdom, his downfall, now this division coming up. What stands out to you the most about all this?
For me, it's how easy it is to stumble, even when you're as wise as Solomon. It's a reminder that we all need God's guidance, no matter how smart we think we are.
It really makes you wonder, what if Solomon had just repented? What if he had gone back to God with his whole heart? Maybe things would have been different. Who knows? What do you think? So, we've been talking about King Solomon, his life, his wisdom, all the ups and downs. It's a pretty wild story, right?
Yeah, it's got a little bit of everything. As we wrap up our deep dive today, I think it's important to remember that this isn't just some ancient tale. It still has a lot to say to us, even thousands of years later.
I agree. Solomon's struggles, his choices, the consequences, those are things we can relate to even today.
Yeah.
So, what are some of the big takeaways we can apply to our own lives? What can we learn from all this?
Well, for me, one of the most important things is the danger of compromise. We saw how Solomon, trying to make everyone happy, ended up straying from his own values and from God.
And it wasn't like a huge, sudden thing, right? It was like all these small compromises, little by little, until he was way off course.
Exactly. And that's the thing. We need to know what we believe in, what our non-negotiables are, so we don't get pulled in all sorts of directions. It's about having that inner compass.
That's so important today, I think. There's so much pressure to fit in, to go with the flow, to take the easy way out.
I know, right? But Solomon's story reminds us that real strength comes from sticking to your values, even when it's hard. And it also makes me think about who we surround ourselves with.
Our people,
Yeah.
our friends, family, even who we follow online.
Yeah, all of that. They have a big influence on us. Just like Solomon's wives influenced him, we can be influenced by the people in our lives. It's a good reminder to choose our company wisely, to be around people who lift us up, who challenge us to be better versions of ourselves.
And Solomon's story also says a lot about success, I think. He had it all, wealth, power, fame. But his choices led to the division of his kingdom. That's a pretty big loss.
It is, and it shows us that real success isn't just about achievements. It's about living a life of integrity. It's about being true to yourself, even when it means giving up something in the short term.
I think that's really relevant today, with so much emphasis on achievement. We can get so caught up in chasing external markers of success, like money or status, that we forget about what really matters.
It's about defining success on our own terms, right? Not letting someone else tell us what it should look like. And it's about seeking wisdom, not just for personal gain, but for navigating life, making good choices that lead to real happiness.
So as we finish up here, what's the one message you hope people take away from Solomon's story?
For me, it's the reminder that even the wisest among us can make mistakes. We're all human. But even when we mess up, it's never too late to turn things around. We can learn from our mistakes, get back on track, and live a life that reflects our values, our faith, who we really are.
I love that. It's a message of hope, even in the midst of all the drama and tragedy. We always have the power to choose a different path.
And when we do that, we not only change our own lives, but we also inspire others. We leave behind a legacy that's worth remembering.
Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the life of King Solomon. It's been a journey, that's for sure.
Until next time, may we all strive to seek wisdom, live with integrity, and make choices that lead to a life of purpose and fulfillment.